Beaches are among the most important habitats on this planet, with many different species using them to hunt, to rest, to mate, and to lay their eggs. Because wild beaches are such a hive of wildlife activity, this usually attracts aquatic predators, which means that there can be danger on the beaches and also in the waters surrounding them. Of course, humans also enjoy the beauty and tranquility of beaches, but I suggest that you think twice before visiting some of the beaches in this video. This is because today we'll be taking a look at some of the deadliest beaches in the world, but instead of focusing on deadly currents or treacherous terrain, I will solely be ranking the beaches based on their wildlife. Without further ado, we can travel to our first beach, and to find it we'll be heading to an island in the Indian Ocean. Mauritius is a beautiful country with imposing mountains and idyllic beaches, and it's not exactly known for being a dangerous place to visit. It was once famously home to the iconic dodo and many giant ebony trees, but today a large number of the species on the island are invasive. In the warm waters around Mauritius, you'll find a wide variety of tropical reef fish and turtles, but shark sightings and shark attacks are extremely rare. The shallow waters and extensive reefs around many of its beaches mean that they are relatively safe, but it's the shallows that sometimes hide a potentially dangerous creature. Earlier on in January of this year, my girlfriend and I were lucky enough to visit Mauritius, and we were very fortunate not to run into the creature in question. Because I make animal videos for a living, you'd assume that I'd be aware of all the potentially dangerous animals in the region, but I had completely forgotten about the existence of one deadly fish. We spent one of the days of our holiday snorkeling in the shallows, and we were pleasantly surprised with the variety of fish around the rocks. In hindsight, we might have gotten a bit too close to the rocks, and we were made aware of the danger the very next day. After chatting with a local wildlife expert, we were told not to swim or wade in the beaches near the local nature reserve, and this was because the waters were full of stonefish. For those of you who are unaware, stonefish are the most venomous fish in the world, and it can be very easy to step on them. As their name implies, they look just like a stone, and they stay very still, waiting for their prey to come to them. If you're stung by a stonefish and you can't get to the hospital quickly, then it can be fatal, but thankfully stonefish-related fatalities are extremely rare. The beaches in question were along the coast of Bel Ombre, and if you search about visiting or swimming in the area, you'll often find stories about stonefish. If you wear protective footwear and you swim instead of walking in the shallows, then you'll be just fine. But the sheer amount of stonefish in the area does make it more dangerous than most of the beaches on the island. For this reason, the beaches along Bel Ombre slot in at number 8, but this shouldn't stop you from snorkeling there. For our next beach, we don't have to travel very far at all, as strangely we'll be heading to the neighbouring island. If you head southwest of Mauritius, you'll arrive at the French island of Réunion, and even though Réunion is very close to Mauritius, it's dangerous for a completely different reason. This small island is known for being a real shark attack hotspot, and at one point in time the situation was so bad that swimming was banned on most of its beaches. From 2011 to 2016, 16% of the world's fatal shark attacks took place in the waters around Réunion, and experts are still trying to figure out why this is. Some experts have suggested that it's because Réunion is on a so-called shark highway, as many sharks travel from South Africa to Australia, and Réunion is a popular service station for the sharks. There are quite a few beaches on the island that are dangerous, but one that's seen its fair share of fatal and non-fatal attacks is Boucan Canot. Part of the reason why this location is particularly dangerous is because it's a popular surfing spot, and surfers are sometimes targeted by great white sharks. The last fatal shark attack on this beach occurred in 2015, but there was a near-fatal attack in 2019. It seems as though sharks are just more likely to attack around this small island, and it's strange how it's a completely different story on the neighbouring island of Mauritius. The point of these videos is not to villainize sharks or other potentially dangerous animals, as we often share the waters with these predators but we are completely unaware. The Malibu artist does a great job at showing this, as he's captured incredible footage of people coming within meters of giant sharks without even noticing. Réunion just seems to have all of the unwanted ingredients to make a shark attack hotspot, and for this reason it slots in at number 7. Of course, not all beaches are found along the coasts, as many of the world's giant rivers and lakes have large sandy beaches. One of these beaches can be found near the city of Manaus in Brazil, and it's locally known as Moon Beach. This wild beach sits on the Rio Negro, and it's a popular tourist destination for people looking to relax or to do a bit of fishing. At first, this beach may not seem like a particularly dangerous destination, but there are a few animals that you'll need to look out for both in and out of the water. If you're really unlucky, you could run into a jaguar roaming the banks looking for an easy meal, but jaguars rarely see humans directly as a food source, and attacks are extremely rare. In the water, you'll have to keep an eye out for the vast numbers of caiman, and even though the majority of caiman species aren't a threat, the formidable black caiman is. The black caiman is the largest of all caiman species, and they are responsible for more human fatalities than any other alligatorid. Since 2014, 19 people have lost their lives to these giant reptiles, and of course there's a risk of sharks here too. Bull sharks are known to regularly travel up the Rio Negro and the Amazon, and even though there have been no confirmed shark attacks in the river, there's always a small chance that it could happen. There are also potentially deadly creatures that you don't want to get on the wrong side of, such as piranhas, electric eels and stingrays, so really you need to be cautious when entering the water. Moon Beach isn't in this video for one reason in particular, but rather because it has multiple threats both on land and in the water. For this reason, I believe it's fit for number 6, and for our next beach we'll be heading north. New Smyrna Beach is located on Florida's east coast, and its shores are lined with many hotels and touristy areas. Behind the beach you can find lagoons and wetland areas full of fish, and this attracts a large number of predators. Large sharks such as bull sharks love hunting in brackish waters, and many different species use the wetlands behind New Smyrna Beach as a nursery. This means that alligators and most sharks in the area are hunting, and this might be why it's the beach with the most shark bites in the world. It's often referred to as the shark bite capital of the world, but this title doesn't tell the whole story. You'd assume that this beach would be a lot higher on the list if it's the shark bite capital of the world, but these bites are very rarely fatal, and the stats are buffed by the fact that it's a popular tourist location. If you look at the stats, then it seems to be a mystery why there are so few fatalities when the bite stats are so high, but it all gets a little clearer when you look at the culprit behind most of the bites. Blacktip sharks are responsible for most of the attacks on New Smyrna Beach, and even though these sharks have the potential to be deadly to humans, they are nowhere near as dangerous as the top 3, the tiger shark, the bull shark, and the great white shark. These deadly sharks can be found in the waters around New Smyrna Beach, but they don't attack people as frequently as they do on other beaches around the world. So even though bites are common, fatalities are rare, and this is why New Smyrna Beach slots in at number 5. Stamford's Cove Beach is located next to the village of Canspy, southeast of Cape Town, and this area is famous for its ecotourism, mainly because of the large number of great white sharks along its shores. It's considered by many to be the great white shark capital of the world, and if you want an adrenaline rush, you can even hop in the water with them. Without a cage, this would be a very bad idea, as the great white sharks in the area are actively hunting. There are large populations of fur seals that live along the coasts in the region, so it's a very bad idea to go for a swim here. Despite this, fatal attacks are almost unheard of in the area, but this is because of the local knowledge and the warnings about the sharks. The waters around the beach are also very unforgiving when it comes to currents and giant waves, but in the cove, the waters are a lot calmer. In recent years, the waters around Canspy have become a little safer for humans, and this is because of the most formidable predator on the planet. Famously, orcas are one of the few predators that will target great white sharks, and their presence is enough to make some sharks evacuate the area. This has led to a drop in great white shark numbers around Canspy in recent years, and with the great white sharks gone, the smaller copper sharks have started to increase in number. If you were crazy enough to go for a long swim along the coast of Stamford's Cove Beach, then you probably won't last long, but thankfully not many people are willing to do this. For this reason, it slots in at number 4, but if you want to observe giant sharks in the safety of a cage, then this is the place for you. For our next section, we'll be staying in Africa, but we will be heading northwest. The Skeleton Coast has a name that seems as though it was made for this video, but it isn't really a beach. Instead, it's an iconic stretch of coastline, but as it's adjacent to the Namib Desert, I'm going to count it as a beach for the sake of this video. The Skeleton Coast is called so because of the two different types of skeletons that can be found here, the skeletons of whales and seals, and the skeletons of dead ships. As it's not too far from our previous beach, it's also home to deadly sharks such as great whites, but there's also danger lurking behind the dunes. This coastline is home to a unique population of desert lions, and they take advantage of the animals that rest on its shores. Because most marine mammals such as fur seals are pretty clumsy on land, if the desert lions manage to stay out of sight, then they have a relatively easy meal. You have to feel sorry for the pinnipeds in this region as they face apex predators both on the land and in the sea, and it's not the safest area for humans too. Fatal shark and big cat attacks along the Skeleton Coast are almost unheard of, but that's because not many people live in the area, and few people are crazy enough to swim in the ocean or walk the dunes here. There have been a few cases where fishermen have had very close calls with lions, but thankfully they have been able to escape to the safety of their vehicles. Because the lions are actively hunting along the coast, it makes them particularly more dangerous. And it doesn't matter if you're a seal or a human, you need to keep an eye out for danger. For this reason, the Skeleton Coast slots in at number 3, and up next is another freshwater beach. Lake Victoria was at the top of the list when I made a similar video on the deadliest lakes in the world, and believe it or not, it has a few beaches along its banks. For those of you who haven't watched that video, the lake is deadly for two reasons in particular, one of them being the hippo, and the other being the Nile crocodile. The Nile crocodile claims the lives of more people than any other extant crocodilian, and there have been many notorious man-eaters over the years. Many of the locals use this lake as a source of water for travel and for fishing, and this puts them at great risk of croc attacks. This danger alone would mean that the beaches along its banks are some of the deadliest in the world, but the hippos make the danger even greater. Famously, hippos kill more people than most African predators do, and they are known for being extremely territorial and unpredictable. Because Lake Victoria is around the same size as Latvia, the densities of these animals in the lake are relatively low, but they do tend to congregate around the areas where rivers enter the lake, and where there is an abundance of aquatic vegetation. Nyatwali Beach is in one such area, and even though this beach is tiny and pretty unknown, because it's in an area of the lake with high croc and hippo numbers, it's one of the deadliest beaches on Lake Victoria. It's very hard to find exact data on croc and hippo attacks in the area, but between 2019 and 2023, 19 people lost their lives to crocodiles on the Tanzanian side of the lake. This means that Nyatwali Beach and its neighbouring beaches slot in at number 2, and for our final beach, we'll be heading over to Australia. Cape Kimberley Beach is located in Queensland in the north of Australia, and it's positioned where the Daintree River flows into the Great Barrier Reef. This area is ideal for wildlife lovers and thrill seekers, but it's not a great idea to enter the water here. The Daintree River is full of saltwater crocodiles, and just upriver from Cape Kimberley Beach is where you can find many cruises that help you get close to these apex predators. Saltwater crocs are mostly found in the brackish sections of rivers, but they do sometimes enter and hunt in the salt waters off of Cape Kimberley Beach. The saltwater crocodile is responsible for the second most human fatalities after the Nile croc, but attacks in Australia are extremely rare due to warnings and local awareness. Cape Kimberley Beach isn't a popular beach by any means, because if it was and people entered the water, then it could easily end in tragedy. Of course, it's not only the crocs that love this area, but also sharks and stonefish. And if you're really unlucky, then you could receive a sting off of a deadly box jellyfish. Some box jellies are capable of ending human lives, so it's always important to look out for warning signs in northern Australia. This area is also renowned for its large cassowary population, but these animals are very rarely a threat to humans, and it's far more dangerous in the water. Because there are so many potentially deadly threats in the waters around Cape Kimberley Beach, it takes the top spot. But of course, these videos are just a bit of fun, and I'd love to hear your suggestions for deadly beaches in the comments down below. But for now, that's about it for this video, so thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.